Okay. The program, that I was speaking of that I've written is called Culture Symposium. Um, the Culture Symposium is based on a single parent. The goal of this program is not only to assist males inside and outside of prison walls, but the whole of the community, his women, children. The objective of Culture Symposium is to reconstruct the minds of the male for leadership, because our communities are crying out for new men, a responsible male figure. This program purpose is to give men back to the community, fathers back to children, husbands back to wives, and leaders who are determined to address and resolve the issues affecting the progress of the suffering community as a whole. The Culture Symposium is a program that addressed the need for more responsible men. From the reformation of the 7 principles, although the first glimpse at the 7 principles appeared to be self-explanatory, it is the application of science of these principles that is lacking. I think we can agree that the character of a human being are basically transmitted through the common use of the 5 senses. That one's environment and all social encounters affects the means to the end. This is the basic truth for all human beings. So we consider ourselves in prison as civil servants, and we feel that our primary civil services are always to help individuals. The single parent homes, in which often foster single parent communities, not only has this generation been altered, a polite description, but also this young generation have been mentally and emotionally disfigured. The children of this generation is a far cry for what the mothers and fathers used to be. The founding members of this Culture Symposium keenly aware that people can, and given the opportunity, will change. However, they have been made transfixed and motionless by the conditions of transforming to their. They are the people who, by and large, have been taught to deny reality. And as we try to, and with real, that the absent father have left as an example. The founding members of the Culture Symposium came together because we sensed a grave need in this institution for a new truth, not truth based upon the irresponsibleness of the absent father. Now, father assumptions, false arguments, false realities, but rather the truth that confirms mankind's conscious work. We feel that there's no other way that it can be done but by somebody who have already experienced these things. So we trying to do psychological surgery on the minds of young men in prison so they can go back to the street and be an asset to community instead of the liability in which they were. And I feel that when we set before parole board and they don't recognize that we have truly made a transformation in our lives and change, because they don't look at what we have done in here, they only look at what we have done on the outside before we come to prison. And they are not sensitive to our situations and the changes and things that we go through in prison. And by not being sensitive to that, they deny us just based upon, either we African Americans or we Muslims or whatever the situation may be.
So can you talk a little bit about how long have you been in prison?
Oh, okay, yes. Well, I have, I first came to prison when I was 23 years old.
How old are you now?
And at present, I'm 70 years old.
70, 70.
Huh?
70.
Yes, 70. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 70 years of age.
So that was 47 years ago.
Right, exactly. It's been 47 years since I've been incarcerated.
So I just want the people to understand what that means. A lot of the people
Right.
who watch this video and hear your words are not even
Right.
going to have been born when you went to prison. And
Right.
so for people to comprehend what it means, 47 years of your life has been behind walls mostly.
Right. Yeah.
So you didn't have an opportunity that others have had of life experiences. You've been denied all of that, and that was the penalty that the system gave you for the crime that you allegedly committed. And so now at 70 years old, you feel like it's time. And can you tell me a little bit about what you've endured as far as your health conditions?
Right. And my health, since I've been incarcerated, my health has failed me. I've had prostate cancer, lymphoma. I had over 42 treatments of radiation, followed by 17 more treatments of radiation, followed by surgery on my leg, and I had 21 treatments of chemotherapy. And it's been one thing after another. And it seems as though the parole board is not even sensitive to my medical conditions. I can be treated a lot better if I had the opportunity to be out on the outside instead of in prison. Sometimes have appointments at the hospital and the appointment is not being made simply because, their lack of manpower or various of things, or something going on in the facility that they can't get me to the UNM Cancer Center on time, and so they cancel the appointment and various things like that. So it's been an uphill climb to survive. It's a difficult task being in prison this long and not really having anyone to aid and assist me. I lost my mother, father, sisters, brothers, all my relatives, and it's a really painful experience.
Can you explain what happens when you go to the parole board? Do you get to meet with them in person, or how does that happen?
Well, the parole board is situated where you see them through a television. It's a teleconference that you have with the parole board. They're not actually there with you. They just sit on the other side of the glass and on the television, and they talk to you. And during that course of that time, there's only maybe 2 parole board members and 1 victim advocate at the parole board. And they ask you, what have you done? Have you got any disciplinary reports, anything like that? I got an exemplary disciplinary record. I've never had a disciplinary report since I've been incarcerated. I've been a model prisoner. And I've had numerous parole plans, and apparently they wasn't sufficient enough. And what they denied is always is predicated upon the severity of the offense, and the severity of the offense will never change. It will always remain the same.
I want to ask you though, do you think you're the same person that you were in 1971? Should the people consider that much has changed since then, right? You're not a threat to the community?
No, I'm not a threat to the community, you understand? And most of the staff in the prison system can vouch for that. I've been recommended by wardens, deputy wardens, and the likes. I've started many programs, JC, Commerce, Chamber of Commerce. I've studied it. I was the president of the Youth Awareness Group. I've spoke to young children to try to prevent the children from, to deter them from coming to prison. With my health and my age at this time, I could not be a threat to anyone. I walk with a cane. I have back problems. I have glaucoma. So it's really not a whole lot that I can really do anymore. So I'm definitely not the individual that I was when I came to prison. I changed over the years. And I know that change, speaking about change, you can talk about change, you can believe that you're going to change, you can promise to change, you can philosophize about change, but I know change can come about when you're committed to change, and I'm definitely committed to change. And I know that I could be an asset to society instead of the liability what I was before I was incarcerated. All I need is the opportunity to make parole, to get back on the outside so that I can do something constructive instead of something destructive. I'm deeply remorseful for what I've done. I've forgiven myself. I've asked God to forgive me, and I've also, in my prayers, asked those individuals that I may not be able to speak to forgive me. So I've definitely changed. And I'm ready.
And our system is like the intent of our system is supposed to be rehabilitative, so that people can rejoin society at some point. Do you feel like this has been more than an adequate punishment that you have endured, or why do you think the people are advocating against you, or do you think it's just the process is so impersonal that there's not a proper evaluation of what's going on at the parole board?
Right, and the thing about it, they claim that they've read my records and so forth and so on, and they have even stated that they have read my records, but at the same token, they say, well, we got to take it before the executive director of the parole board. In fact, the executive director of the parole board, her name was, and one of the parole board, Mary Landry's, they voted for me. And apparently the governor released them, they fired them later on, because they said because my case had been so long that they felt, you understand, that I should be paroled. And I have paperwork stating that I paroled, and I signed the paperwork, you understand, and the conditions for parole. But they still turned around months later and rescinded it based upon victim notification, which was something that wasn't even part of the parole system. And they have, they solicit these people to come and speak against me as opposed for me. And they say, well, we know he has changed, we've changed his religion and all that, you understand, but I think he still do this, he's a criminal, he this, that, and the other. But it's obvious, you understand, that the victim advocates is telling these people to say these things.
Yeah.
And I've been threatened. I've also been threatened by the victim family on the parole board.
Wow.
And so.
And if you were to be paroled, you would still have to report to a PO, and you'd still be under surveillance and subjected to all the conditions that exist there. And
I would probably be, intense parole, probably have the box on my leg and all that, and the halfway house, you have to stay there for 90 days and so forth, and go to AA, NA, and different counseling and various things like that. So I would still be under their supervision.
Right.
So it's no reason why I shouldn't be given the opportunity to be paroled.
So what do you hope to achieve should you be able to, or what is the one thing that still gives you hope if you were to come out to the public? What would your one hope or moment that you would want to achieve? What do you want to experience?
Well, I was first and foremost, you understand, I like to enhance my education. I would like more than to work with young people, you understand, to help them, to deter them from getting into the life of crime. Counseling, I would like to counsel juveniles because I know that that's an area I think I'm well versed in, and I have a numerous amount of knowledge to do that.
Now, let me ask you something. So, about 93% of adult inmates right now started in the juvenile system. Are you one of those people that started in the juvenile system?
Well, I went to the federal institution for the diag for stealing an automobile when I was about 17 years old. And other than that, they considered in California, you understand, up to 21 that you're still under youth. Mm-hmm. So 17 is,
So you are part of that 93% that started in the juvenile system.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do. I come from a dysfunctional family, and I had no identity, purpose, or direction in my life at that time. You understand? And so I kind of was drifted to the post. I didn't have no education. There's so many different factors. One of the serious issues that face me because I have PTSD, post-traumatic
stress disorder.
Mm-hmm. When I was 10 years old, me and my sister was about the same age I was. She was 1 year older than me. And my brother and my cousins, they was playing Russian roulette. Mm. And one of them, my cousin, when he spent the barrel on his head, he blew his brains out. And so that affected me, mm-hmm. throughout this. And I didn't understand the meaning. I didn't understand that I suffered from that. And I was in 1989 also, in Santa Fe. And I've seen a lot of things, and it affected me a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I had a cousin that was up there too.
I
had a cousin that was up there too in that, and he's deceased now. But yeah.
You have 1 minute remaining.
And I helped a lot of guys and helped them save lives and things during that time too, So many of the things that the Department of Corrections don't recognize, but I did do. I did try my level best to try to reach out and help guys and stop guys from being raped and various things like that. There's many things that I've done in prison because of my position that has been overlooked.
Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us and being so brave to tell us your story. And right. I hope that many people see this. And maybe people will be willing to write to the parole board on your behalf. We can encourage the community to support you and hopefully achieve some level of justice, because it seems that you have more than paid the price.
Your time is up.